What's up, everyone? In this video, we're going to go over how to use globals in PayloadCMS. But before we get started, don't forget to check that you're subscribed to my channel and hit the bell for notifications to make sure that you are always updated for when I drop new content around PayloadCMS. Globals, what we're talking about today, are very similar to collections. The primary difference is that collections allow you to create many of the same type of document multiple times. A global, however, corresponds to a single document. Just like collections, you're able to create as many globals as you need, but none of them will create more than one document. Globals are stored in your database and have the same fields available to it as collections do. Just like collections, globals also automatically generate local API, REST API, and GraphQL API to query your documents on the front end. You'll use globals for things like header and footer navigation, or things like site-wide notifications like a sticky banner. So let's create a header navigation as an example. To get started, you'll want to create a new directory called globals. So I don't have that yet in my source directory, so I'm going to add a new directory and call it globals. In this globals directory, you're going to create another directory, and we're going to call it header, and we're going to add a new TypeScript file and call it config. Next, you're going to import global config from payload at the top of the file and export a const that we'll call header. And then we're going to assign global config to it and set it equal to an empty object. Now we'll need to set it up with a slug option, which we'll call header, and an empty array of fields. From there, you can import this header global into your payload config file by adding it to your globals array. So we'll do that by going to payload config, and we have this globals array here, and we're going to get rid of this navigation that we had from a previous video and just include header, which should import our header from our globals header config. So we'll head back over to the header config and start exploring what we can do here. If you'd like to call the global something else, you can use the label option to change how it's displayed in the admin dashboard navigation. You'll still query the global by its slug on the front end, but you can change the name just like you can for a collection. So let's take a look at that. So here we see our new global called header, but say we want to call it something else. We'll use label, and we'll just call it header nav. And just like other labels, this is case sensitive, so you'll want to type this in exactly how you want it to be shown in your admin dashboard. So if I wanted nav to be lowercase, I could do that. But we don't really need a label. It's very clear what this is going to do. So we'll just leave it as header. Slug and fields are both required in order to initialize a global, but once you have those set, that's all you really need. So we'll create an array of links for our header. So we can create a new field, and we'll have a field with type, array, and name, header links. In this array, we'll include an array of fields with a name. We'll do destination, and we'll do type relationship with relation to being to our posts. We'll add also another field, which will have the name of new tab and type of checkbox. And what we'll do is we will set a label for this to be open in a new tab, which will allow us to render a target on the front end if we don't want to have this open in the same tab. And then we'll set the array of header links to be min row of 1 with a max row of 5, just so our header nav doesn't get out of hand. So now we will save this, and we'll take a look at what this looks like now. We'll just add a header link, and we can see our destination is populated by blog posts. Some of these are untitled, so they're going to show up with an ID and as well as being untitled here in our relationship field. But we see open in a new tab checkbox, and we can check or uncheck that. Just like our collections, you have access to the access, admin, and description options, but you cannot set a global to be your upload collection. You also can't use it for authentication. So this cannot be your auth collection, and it can't be your upload collection. So we won't spend too much time on access, but we'll talk about it a little bit in globals because it operates exactly in the same way that it does for collections. You can set access by typing in access and then opening an object. And then you have access to read, which we will just set to true. And you have access to update, which we will also set to true. You don't have access to create or delete because globals do not create more than one document. You would not have the ability to update or delete a document because those documents don't exist. It's just the one global document. We'll talk more about access in a later video, but for now, this gets you started with the ability to have anybody read and anybody update your header. And so we'll actually get rid of the update because we only want it to be read. For admin, many of the admin options are similar between collections and globals, but there are a few key differences. You can still use group to group your global in the admin UI. So let's look at that as an example. So right now it's just set to globals, but we can set admin, group, and just as an example, we'll set it to posts. This is not what we would actually do, but for the sake of example, we can see now header is in posts. Something that we might actually do is put it into its own group called navigation. So this would be a good place to have our header and footer navigation, so we'll leave this group as it is. You can also set hidden to true, or a function that takes user as an argument to either hide the global from navigation or from specific users. So we can set admin hidden to true, and we'll see it disappear from our admin UI. So we'll leave that enabled for now. Just like collections, you can set description as text or a React component to provide more information to editors about what this global does. So for this, we can just go to our admin, go down to description, and we can add this is our header navigation. And then when I save and go here, we can see that we have this is our header navigation. So in a later video, we'll go over what it takes to create your own component and put it here in description, but for now, this will do just fine. Globals are, by their nature, less complicated than collections. Since they use many of the same options as collections, but without the added complexity of multiple documents, it's much easier to manage and add to globals than it would be for collections. However, globals add a layer of powerful flexibility that allows you to set up things like header and footer navigation and site-wide notifications. If you found this video helpful, please like and share the content to get it out in front of other people who can benefit from it. If you have any suggestions for topics to cover, please let me know in the comments, and feel free to ask questions there as well. Take a second again to make sure you're subscribed to this channel and sign up for notifications so you never miss a video. I'll see you on the next one.